I never teach anyone to do an estimate a certain way. Because you guys, if you look at the way that I do estimating, you're gonna be like, he is crazy. I played football in college. I've had a million concussions. I put redundancies in my estimate, double checks, triple checks. I just do. It's just the way I do it. And you know what? It works for me. And that's the thing with estimating is you have to come up with a methodology that works for you. As long as those numbers are accurate and you can present them in a professional way, it doesn't really matter how you individually do your work. There's no one right way. There really isn't. So I have backup checks and I use my historical data and I use spreadsheets to help really hone in on my skills. And you guys have to invest in your methodology just as much as you do your actual estimate that you're doing. Like you gotta have a process in place. And oftentimes my process changes depending on the scope of work I'm evaluating. When I'm going into a mindset to estimate drywall versus roofing, I might have a little bit different methodology. But all of those are gonna speak to that document that I utilize in the process that I really utilize. There's softwares that I'm actually teaching a class Tuesday on Bluebeam and Procore. And we typically teach our students in courses like this in those generalized software. I mean, we don't go into like very, very specific ones because companies do it different, right? Companies use it different ways. We use RS Means to kind of get some historical data and National Estimator, and there's different things like this. But ultimately it comes down to your individual process. I just actually came out, when I was out in 2010, that's when a lot of the technology shift was changing. I remember we got iPads on our first Turner job. I played Angry Birds on it. I just didn't like it. Yeah, honestly, I just didn't like it. We would just take pictures and do some RFIs on it and stuff like that. The technology, now it's very digitally driven. Our students prefer digitally. I'm just not like that. I like hard prints. I like writing things. Yes. I'm probably the last of my kind who's now coming out like after me. No, I know you guys are, or some of you guys are, like we're us moving, like us into the future, or, you know, who are older from that 2010 kind of period and on, like now the students know it's all digital. I just can't keep things straight. And the problem is you have to be trained in it. You have to be well versed in it. But my general feeling is as long as your number is accurate, like Mark, again, if you're handing me a piece of paper and it's accurate, I don't care. I've handed subcontractors schedules on napkins before, and it's worked. We really translate and we really put value on things that actually work in the field. So don't get too caught up in, I'm using Timberline, or we have to use this or that. Ultimately, it comes down to accuracy. We'll make sure we can put it in whatever we need for the Cleveland Clinic or whatever it may be. Ultimately, it comes down to the accuracy of numbers. The one thing I really want to talk about here, and it really goes back to Mark's point, is a sound understanding of the work that gets put in place. So I tell people, go out into the field. Go see the electricians put the work in place. Go see how hard it is to pull wire. Go see the little things that your subcontractors run into. That is going to help you. Obviously, ability to read blueprints is important, but let me tell you guys this, because I teach in the College of Architecture. And this isn't to bash architects or architecture folks with their background. They are expected to draw drawings faster, digitally, and I believe the quality of the prints that we are getting, if you can believe it or not, is actually going down. They're looking at AI generation as well to generate drawings and elevations and things like that. But I mean, ability to read blueprints is very important for sure, but they only get you so far. I think technology and construction management, and this is important to estimating too, and we're gonna talk about some things here. I think technology in construction management will actually be a net positive, because I think what it'll do is make what we do a little sexier. Okay. And here's what I mean by that. I think we can attract young talent back into construction by the integration of technology. Where now I'll show you this little job bot we have out here too. As a carpentry foreman, or as a carpenter, you can operate a robot to lay out all of your walls. Tommy, you and I don't have to get on our hands and knees, and I don't have to snap lines on concrete anymore if I use the job bot that I'm going to show you. I think a younger kid might be attracted that he can use a robot and actually utilize technology to lay out in the real world, to actually print those layouts. Again, I'll show you here in a minute. I think that would actually attract people. I also think AI will help fill the gaps that we have in construction management. If you've seen the latest construction data of how many open jobs we have, and we're talking about labor, I think it's actually needed to help supplement us, to be honest with you. I don't think it'll ever get to the point where we aren't needed as people to build buildings. But I think we can use certain areas to supplement. Why this is so important for us is we have to build this into our estimates. And here's the cool part with technology, guys. If you can prove the value to the client, it's a moneymaker. You're gonna bill that cost to the client and make money off of it. I'll give you guys a great example. So this is called Matterport, okay? Matterport's
awesome.
It's awesome, dude.
Yeah, it is awesome.
It is awesome. This is such a low cost. It's $1,300 a month for a really, really good plan. You can do it from your phone or you can do it from a camera that's here. And what you can do, and I always recommend this for people, and you guys should think about this from an estimating standpoint, if you're estimating an existing structure. You can go hire a little intern or somebody who anybody can do this, can go around and scan this project for you. And this is why I tell you should always put your eyes on projects. And this could be a way to do it, okay? And what you do is you create, this is called the dollhouse view, right? But what's really cool is, what we're now doing from a CM standpoint is I'll bed the O&M, operation and maintenance documents, in the file. So we can say, here you go, Mr. and Mrs. Client. Everywhere you see a little circle is where a node was taken, and all you do is set up the camera, and it does a little 360, pick it up. Take it in there, spin it really quick. And what you can do is just bury these nodes, and in that node it could be a YouTube video of how to maintain an HVAC unit. It could be your warranty documents. So now instead of printing all these things and handing the client all this paperwork, you go, here's the link. Right? You can walk through that structure. And now what you can also do, you can measure, you can do your estimates completely remote. You can take very accurate measurements. Right, that's an 8'1" wall right there. And this is such a low cost to entry that utilizing this, that's why I always say there should be no excuse for you not visually putting your eyes on a job, just like Mark's saying. Like, you have to. In conjunction with all the documents, especially if the documents are getting worse, you have to visually put yourself in this position. Now here's the cool part. I'm actually doing a study right now. So when COVID hit, right, inspectors started accepting a lot more digital like pictures for inspections. And what I'm trying to really push in the state of Ohio, and I'm getting a lot of pushback from them, is a set of guidelines and standard operating procedures for contractors to just submit visual proof for inspections. So that inspector doesn't need to climb to the 17th floor of Sherwin-Williams and put his or her eyes on the mechanical rough-in inspection. You can just send them a digital file. And there's a lot of pushback. Oh, well, I want to put my eyes on it. These contractors try to cheat. Have you guys ever tried to cheat in 4K? I mean, it's very, very hard. The technology is getting to the point that we can put so much data at such a crisp rate that we can actually, like, it's impossible to cheat. With this file, you're on record, right? So what we're trying to do is utilize that type of software to increase our productivity, which has an effect on our bottom line, and the interjection of technology will help reduce, arguably, the amount of construction time that we utilize or build things. It'll help supplement our work. We can get inspections faster. We can reduce paperwork. We can increase accuracy. And now it's getting to the point, and I think, Tommy, like the biggest question contractors always have, what's the ROI? What's my return on investment? Right? I'm not going to buy, have you guys seen the robot dog? There's this robot dog that Boston Dynamics that runs out on job sites. It's like, that's the one offshoot like Turner Construction does that ain't going to really pay back Mark Panzica. But a $1,300 a year Matterport license, that will have a contractor bite. And I'm telling you, here's what's going to happen, dude. You're going to have an inspector for a home that you're working on, Tommy, that's on the back of a boat in Boca Raton smoking a cigar. Why does an inspector need to physically be on the job now? You are going to see digital integration in construction management. It's already started. Remote project managers, remote inspectors. I look at jobs all the time. I'm just randomly looking like there's remote project engineer and project manager jobs on LinkedIn right now.
Right, during COVID time, when inspectors, a lot of inspectors weren't coming out to sites, because of COVID. So they were saying, send me pictures. Okay, you take it on your phone, they'll see the electrical, or they'll have Zoom meetings with you.
Yeah.
And, you'll just present the pictures all the way around. So this is it taken up to another level. Basically, with this.
And you can embed so many things in it. Like I said, warranty and operation and maintenance stuff. Like Mark said, estimating. Hand this to your estimator. I'd rather have this than a set of prints.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. Look at that. It's visual.
All the visual, the LVL beams, everything,
You can see everything. So if you have an existing facility, like I want to utilize this as opposed to prints. And that's why I say, like in that last slide, like reading blueprints, yes, that's important. I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing that. But now with the integration of this is going to help us. It's hard to cheat in 4K. Like I said, you can get real tight. You can see your 12:2. You can see different things, and it's there. And again, now here's how we sell it from an estimating standpoint, is I build that cost in. And then the client might say, well, wow, you have this additional overhead cost, but then you show them the value it delivers them. Hey, when you guys go to do a renovation or a change and you need to know where wires are at, I've got your rough-in images right here. You can check it out. You need project documentation, warranty information, it's all there. And then you build profit into that. So you bill the client $500 a month for your technology and it's coming $130 out of your pocket. But because you've provided a value for it, just like Turner Construction did with Ladders Last, it's now a profit area for you. Right? So, but again, it's all like, at what level do we want to invest in this? You got to make sure that it's going to provide you that return on investment. If you're going to spend a ton of money on AI, you might not see that right now with the level of technology there is. This thing is freaking incredible. This is called RPD 35. I saw this at Construction Exposition, completely autonomous vehicle.
Here at Robotics, we've developed the RPD 35. RPD stands for Robotic Pile Driver. This system allows for the automation of the pile driving process and the production of solar farms. The solar industry is going through.
By the way, the solar industry, to just give you guys a standpoint from our construction management students, is the highest paying, fastest growing segment that we have in the building. And they're the highest paying for our students. The money they are putting and throwing at these kids is ridiculous. Then we're going to show you here, we're at currently about 3% production, and the goal is to be at like 50. They're building solar fields. The kids have sent me pictures, hundreds of acres, Texas, Minnesota, by the way. Like the technology is there where they're building it in areas you would never think were building solar. If you guys have any money or you want to invest in something, I tell people solar. And I don't want to get, people politicize it because it's an energy source and they get all this. I'm just saying from what I'm observing from data points, holy mackerel, it is growing like crazy. So here's a company and organization that saw, hey, there's a way that we can do this faster and better, so just take a look.
We plan to run half of our country off of solar, and currently we're only at 3%, so we've got a long way to go. We're going to see a huge increase in demand for solar energy and renewables in general.
I think the most difficult part about manually driving piles is just lifting them constantly. It's a very labor-intensive task, and we knew that we could develop technology and tools that skilled workers could use to improve the process.
We're talking a repetitive task tens of thousands of times This is where automation and robots come into play. Automating these tasks reduces the risk for humans, and it provides a safer environment, and it's a much
There's no one in there.
process that allows
It's completely autonomous.
solar farms to occur much more quickly.
They're driving the piles down to sub-centimeter accuracy.
By carrying the piles on board. No longer do we need to shake them out or distribute them along the property. They're on board the excavator itself. It picks from those on
And it does the pull test. Every one of those, they'd have to bring another machine and do a pull test. It will drive it and then do the pull test right then and there.
Typically, a manual crew is able to put about 100 piles in the ground a day. With the RPD 35, we can get over 300.
So a manual crew can do 100, RPD does 35.
The first is a sled, which is tubes that
So less people,
underneath the excavator.
more
The
production,
second part, the baskets, which can hold up
and
to 200 piles in a specific location.
a sexier, cooler way to operate that machinery that I think would attract people.
And then finally,
And everyone says, well, we're losing jobs. We need
system, which is the brain
to lose jobs, really.
Our software
We need people.
produces a pile sequence. The baskets on board the excavator are loaded in a particular sequence that allows for the placement of those piles in the exact right position and the exact right order. We're talking sub-centimeter accuracy.
So now you can be a tradesman and operate technology versus physically putting pile drivers in and shaking out beams all day.
Safety system is comprised of hardwired e-stops, wireless e-stops, indicators for sound, lights, a geofence, a physical safety barrier, pedestrian detection, the Guardian system, and signage on the robot.
We started off with trenching on these solar projects. Today, our latest product involves pile driving, but there's so much more that can be automated in this industry. Here at Built, we're in it for the long haul. We believe that in order to meet the demands of the future, automation is going to be key in the construction.
So construction exhibition, which is in Vegas every 4 years, it's all going this way. It is all going this way.
One of my coworkers was telling me about some project she was watching on YouTube or something where the guy was in China and he was operating something in another country.
I was going to show you the video.
Oh, okay.
No, I know what it is. The guy's in Germany operating an excavator in South Korea.
Oh, there you go.
You see the South Korean flag flying? And it might have been, there's other countries that use it too. So now they're remote operating excavators across the world, right? So when the South Korean folks are going home at 3:30 p.m., it's 7 a.m. in Germany. That piece of equipment is operated now from Germany completely remotely. I'll show you the video here in a second. It's a short clip. So you'll see in South Korea, it's completely dark and they're still excavating, they're still trenching, all completely remote. You guys, we are gonna meet excavating contractors who work remote. Literally, like, I'm a construction heavy operator and I work from home. It's coming. And at what level do we put that in our estimate? At what level can we show that cost? Now, typically this is what we see in the United States, guys. This stuff usually starts on the East and West Coast and it takes a long time to kind of matriculate to us. So I think this is gonna come tomorrow. No, but you've got to be sensitive to the fact of where should my company be investing technology? What's the ROI? What's the cost going to be associated on my project? And can I build it in as a profit center? Big companies and organizations are looking at this, but we'll talk about Procore and we'll talk about JobBot, which is one, I'll show you this here really quick, that is a lower cost to entry that actually makes sense for people like us at this juncture. You know, RPD 35 makes sense for Blattner when they're doing huge solar fields, and it only makes sense at certain, scales. Right? Like, it's just such at a high cost right now that it doesn't make sense for every single solar project. But this one to me does. Check this out. So we got our cast in place concrete, right? And we're starting to lay out our stud walls. You upload your file right to Dusty and it prints it right out for you. Yep. So again, Tommy and I ain't getting on our hands and knees and snapping lines. I might need a crew of 6 carpenters to be laying out the whole floor, right? Here's the other cool thing. It puts your outlets, it puts all your overhead light fixtures. It prints right on the floor where your stud walls are going. Overhead soffits. So why aren't we training our carpenters on this to save your knees, save your back, save all the thought process that goes behind it? Now, I'm also torn on that a little bit. You need to be able to know how to lay out walls. You got to know how to lay out walls. And this only, you know, as like a carpenter, you're not going to be using this on every job, I wouldn't think. Like this room, it probably wouldn't make sense. We could lay this out relatively quickly. So I think integrating this stuff smartly will help us at some point. And we need to think about that from an estimating standpoint. Wow, we really got on a tangent after ability to read blueprints, but it's so true. Maybe it's ability to read BIM models. Maybe it's ability to read a user manual on the RPD 35. These are the ways that we're moving towards in the future, and I believe in our industry, we need it to supplement. You need to think about the right investment, and if our interjection of technology actually works for the bid package that we're utilizing. I've done jobs where it doesn't make sense. We don't need Matterport. We don't need a drone. We don't need any of this stuff. We're just good old, hard, salt of the earth construction, right? But what we do is talk about in our class on the one I'm going to be doing on Tuesday with Procore and Bluebeam. I do think there's a minimum level of technology. I don't know if you guys have heard of Procore or utilize that at all. Bluebeam, which is an interactive PDF. But like Procore, for example, is a digital platform that houses all of your construction documents. So it's like a cloud drive that the owner can access, subcontractors can access. It really just helps you manage the digital flow of the job, and it's a very low hanging fruit. It's a low cost thing, just like some of those technologies we showed there, right? Where again, you can show stuff in real time. I can access RFIs as a contract manager in Canada, for example, whatever it may be. So what we need to also do when we're starting down to start putting our bids together is understanding the bid package, because our estimate is not coming simply off the drawings. It's coming off a combination of documents. It could be a Procore document, it could be a bond, it could be technical specs, special conditions. Everything that you see here, for the most part, has an impact on your cost. Right? It has an impact on your cost. It's not just one document. So from a tool standpoint, all I want to talk about here, I'm going to show you I'm Excel till I die. I'm sure everyone in here uses Excel to at least put their spreadsheets in. If not, that's okay. You should all have a methodology that's there. But being competent in Excel is really going to help you, and I'll give you guys some examples. Because it's super inexpensive, you can easily adapt it. A lot of our clients are familiar with just Excel spreadsheets. You can visually represent things really, really well. And also, I'm going to show you here in a second, you can formalize and collect data and keep it there. It's a really valuable thing. And I'm telling you guys, a lot of the success of your estimates is dictated in the documentation process. Excel allows me to, and whatever you utilize for your estimates, it should allow you to access information like this. I should be able to go to Ralph and say, what's your percentage of profit on this job? And you should be able to pull it up. If you guys can't do that, you need to change your methodology. Or if you can say, how much overhead do you have on this job? You should be able to pull it up. What's your cost per square foot on X? You should be able to find that very, very quickly. So if you can't do that, that's usually a good guide for you guys. You probably need to alter the methodology that you're utilizing. Right? And I'm not saying it needs to be literally that fast, but you should be able to have access to that information within a central area and be able to tell me. Okay, so this is that document I was telling you about where I capture everything. So this is an Excel spreadsheet. And if you look at the bottom here, there's a bunch of tabs, okay? And on these tabs is where I store my historical data. Is where I put in elevator costs, appliances, fire protection, plumbing, whatever it may be. This is what I call my project ratio comparison. And this is where I store all the historical data for my projects in one central area. Again, y'all really got to focus on how you store and disseminate data. Have you guys ever sat, like when I'm writing or when I was doing my dissertation, I would have like 50 tabs open, It'd take me 7, 8 clicks to get to where I needed to be. And then I'd go, you know how much time I wasted in just clicks? And just not knowing where things were organized or what they were named? I'm telling you, you need to really invest in that. Bill Gates did a study, like he has 6 monitors, Bill Gates. If you ever read about any of his productivity, he has 6 monitors up in his office at one time because he's found he can just be so much more productive with that amount of monitors. He spent a ton of time and money investing in his process, right? So I have one document that I can go back to all my historical projects, and they're all listed for me right here. What was my price per square foot of concrete? What was the price per square foot of X? What were the average sizes of every project? And these can all come from what's important to you. You guys can determine whatever those want to be. I just know that you want to come up with a methodology that you can say, hey, what is my gross square foot cost with site work? And now I can look at all my past projects, and now all this does is make my life easier moving forward. And you can even see these are kind of all over the place. It's a pretty wide range. $132 a square foot, 81, 74, 102, 100, 94.33. And this is why I'm saying where I think AI is going to be able to be utilized, because it can look at past project data and be able to spit out averages or spit them out moving forward. Now here's the cool part. When I'm pencil whipping something, Wendy, or when I'm really on a tight timeline, right? I'll reference my historical data right here and put a number in and move forward. You know, Dana's contractors, they do about $1 billion worth of work. They're based out of Cincinnati. They have an office in Columbus, Kentucky. You might have heard of them. They no longer figure out the general overhead for their projects. You know, overhead, by the way, the definition of overhead, it's the things that are, we always talk about overhead, okay? But in estimating terms, it are the things that are required to put the work in place, but don't put work in place. Porta-johns, job site trailers, printers, coffee machines, me, you. We don't put work in place, but we're needed to put work in place, right? They don't even bother breaking all that. They say 10%. 10%. That's all based off of this. So what do? They invest their time in determining the actual accurate cost of construction, and they're going to say, we have $10,000 in overhead. Why? Why are they basing that off of? You don't just pull it out of your ass. It's based off of historical data. There's like, we've done so many projects that were 8%, 11%, 12.5%, 7.5%. It's an average of 10. We put 10 in and we move forward. That's it. And that saves them time and headache, and it allows them to invest, just like we were saying earlier, in the actual items that are important on your job site. Now, general overhead and conditions is important, but they have so much historical data built up, I'm not even thinking of wasting time on that as a project manager. I'm investing in that post-tension concrete contractor that's doing my job and is going to be really impactful. Right? So it's the allocation of your time to things that are really, really important, but it can't be off of nothing. You have to be able to pull the actual data, and you can't pull the data unless you're collecting it. This is the researcher standpoint of me. And this also is going to make you very valuable when it comes to your job site meetings and you selling projects to clients. It's very easy, or it's very nice to sit across from someone and say, I've done it. And now what this allows you to do is not only say I've done it, I have the data to back it up. And even if I don't have time to go work for a masonry crew over the summer, right? If I have my historical costs, I can look and say, that's not right. I now have this to back up the reasoning for me. If you're just saying, no, Mark, that number's so high, man, your number's high. And then Mark's gonna be like, well, how the fuck do you know, Anthony? You ever done asbestos? It's very nice to be like, either yeah, or I haven't done it, Mark, but guess what? On the last 9 projects I've done, I pull this stuff up in my meetings, guys. On the last 9 projects I've done, we've averaged $74.25 a square foot. Why is your number 130? And then we can have a conversation into that estimate standpoint. But you can't come with no armor or backup. I always tell, you know, on jobs, guys, I guarantee you 90% of the people haven't even read the
the first job site meeting, they either haven't read the drawings, scope of work, or contract. You will be this much higher than everybody in the room if you just read the documents. You know how valuable it is to hear Ralph say, that's not in my contract, and I'm like, look at page number 7, line item 348, paragraph 2.
Okay, I own it.
Yeah! And from an estimate, honestly, from an estimating standpoint, that is so valuable. And now we can actually have a meaningful conversation. And we're not just going back and forth and say, you just say, Mark, explain to me why this is what they're, and you might have a great explanation. And he might be right. And it's like, okay, all right, yeah.
I get it, I understand it. It's more difficult because you're working off an elevated area. It's on the 7th floor. It's increased. Okay, cool. I get it, Mark. We've had a conversation. We flushed it out, and now I record that data. But it all comes down to this. If you guys, from an estimating standpoint, aren't investing in this, and it's one of the hardest things to invest in because you're on to the next project. But investment here makes your next project easier. Having this data stored will also help, oh shit, yeah, do we have concrete on that job? Or do we have a certain type of electrical system? It'll help trigger things as you're evaluating future projects, right? So data management, tracking the content, and actually having the data in a format that you can communicate it is the actual hardest part. Right? And then you can use this thing. I've used it so many times to just save my ass, have data to back it up. I can be able to make a concrete argument. Or if I'm in need of a time, I just put a number in. When I'm evaluating bids, I go here and look at my historical costs. Boom. Right? It really, really helps. So we got miscellaneous metals, and then mass timber is just a beast of its own. Then you're gonna run into these where it's like, okay, how the hell do you cost mass timber out, right? And then there's going to be, then what you can do is draw comparisons to different types of construction to help give you a ballpark range. I also have ranges, guys, for every single specification now. So like in general, I know where my MEPs fall on a price per square foot in general. Does it mean it's perfect? No, okay? But if I know in general I need to be at 10% for my general and overhead conditions, that's a pretty good damn starting point. That if I know I'm at 25%, something's wrong. If I know I'm at 5%, something's wrong. So I can't really underscore enough how much general ranges for each of the specification sections are to just check your work and to see if you're within the ballpark. I embed as much data as I can in one sheet. Try to overlap the benefits of the sheet that you're investing in or the document that you're investing in as much as you can. Like for example, I'll use my schedules I'll embed my costs in my schedules. I'll try to embed as many different things, contact information, notes, people I've met, whatever you can do to embed into your document to make it easier for you to access in one thing. So make this sheet your own. Again, you'll have access to it, but if you want to put in contact information, a link to past project pictures, anything you want to put in, schedule, timeline, manpower crews, do it and tailor it to the work that you guys are doing. Investment in that is going to pay you guys dividends. Fireproofing, again, contractor quotes. We can call any one of these companies up, have a contact there, boom, I got that information there. So when my boss comes to me or whoever comes to me and says, hey Anthony, what's our price per square foot on fireproofing? Boom, I'm here, I can give you the information, and if I can't give you the information out of the sheet, I know who to get it from. This Google Drive just has all these different documents that multiple people can access and edit in real time, and you can use Microsoft Excel spreadsheets. You can do all kinds of stuff within it, and it's just really easy to be accessible. Here's an accounting spreadsheet my colleague and I do and use. We can both access it, we can track the changes. We all have a different, and what thing you'll notice is on estimates, they all look a little different. I don't have one estimating sheet that I use for every single project. This is for my brother and his wife for the house down in Florida. I put it in layman's terms because of who's evaluating my job. But then on the back end, guys, in that big sexy Excel spreadsheet that I have, that's where I keep all the data for me. And I'm like, hey, guess what? We're paying this tile guy $7 per square foot to install tile. I'm capturing that data in back end in my spreadsheet, in my central location that I'm tracking costs. So I know in Tampa, Florida, the average price per square foot for a quote to install tile is $7. Because I've evaluated 3 bids, that's the one that we went with, and now I've got that data. And I'll put that in, Tampa, Florida, flooring install, $7 a square foot. Boom, I got it. You'll never forget it, you have access to it. So I know if someone quotes me 14, I'm gonna say, what the fuck? I got data. And most contractors, what are you gonna say when you show a spreadsheet with that and you're like, dude, look at all this data. Like these are the real actual costs that are here. It just gives you a lot of legitimacy. And we did a survey of like 250 project managers. You know the number one thing project managers want? Predictability. Like think about it, if you could have one thing on your job, it would be like, if you tell me this is gonna cost $250, and I just want it to actually cost $250. To be able to predict, my schedule says 2 weeks and we're gonna hit 2 weeks. Predictability, that's it. That's what they want more than anything, is to be able to actually be accurate in our predictions, right? Using these type of things is gonna help give you that.